Coming up today on Locked On at Texas Tech, how did the Red Raiders go about picking up the slack with Tyree Wilson not in the mix Saturday in Ames? We'll get to that. Also, does the offensive game plan change any for Texas Tech given the environment expected Saturday night in Iowa? And did you know a concoction of Vaseline and Icy Hot could be a benefit outside of a prank scenario? No jockstraps involved that I know of. We'll explain next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right. Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
Thanks for joining us again on Locked On at Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan, and I'd like to thank LinkedIn Jobs for bringing you this episode and being the official college football recruiting sponsor across the Locked On College Network. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions apply. We're looking ahead to Red Raiders and Cyclones from Ames, Iowa on Saturday night. And Chris's timbers are already shivering.
Jeez.
You've seen talk about whether or not this could be the coldest game in the history of Tech football. I don't know about that, but it's going to be on the short list, I think, Chris. And unfortunately, man, I really do feel like you got to talk about the elements. I know that Joey McGuire and company will be saying it doesn't matter to the brand whether it's hot or cold, but this ain't just any other day to play football for a team from Texas, right?
Yeah, and he really talked about, look, I've seen some of these cold weather games before. I think there's been times where you make a big deal out of it, and then you've got all the stuff and the things, and it's kind of a storyline. I've also seen Tech teams go up to north, and it's like we're going to pretend like it's not cold. We're not going to talk about it. It's not going to be a thing. And neither has really worked. And Joey basically has said, hey, look, I don't believe in ignoring it. I think that's not wise. Look, it's going to be freezing. And I think he made a great analogy. It's much like some team from up north or wherever that comes to play Texas Tech in late August or early September or whatever. And it's one of those 95-degree days, and it's just brutal, and the kickoff is at 2:30. Texas boys are used to it. You can say from wherever you are, hey, we'll be fine. We practice in some hot weather. We turn the heat up, and wherever we're practicing at, whatever. Then you get in it, and you're like, okay, this is a bit different. That's the way this is going to be. And I think I'll tell you what I was told by my man Miles Cole, who's going to play more now. The concoction that he's been told, and I've heard lots of mixtures of different ideas and things like that, but he is going to run with a cocktail of Icy Hot and Vaseline mixed together. And he's going to layer his arms, legs, feet in this kind of cocktail. And I swear to you. And apparently that keeps you from sweating, and it also, like, if you do sweat, it keeps you warmer. Okay. I don't know. I've heard the Vaseline stuff for years because even the other night versus the Jayhawks, Casey, they have these like pads. They pull them out of a pack because they have these pads, and I'm watching these guys like wipe the pad all over their arm, and I'm like, what is that? Well, come to find out, it's like a Vaseline type deal, and it closes your pores, so it keeps you warmer. So I just, so who knows what works, what doesn't. Some of it's mental, some of it's not. Some of these kids will be just fine. I mean, like, you got guys like Reggie Pearson, played at Wisconsin. Tyler Shough has played a game in the snow up in Pullman, Washington versus Oregon back in 2020. He threw for 300, ran for 100, and they're shoveling the snow off this is just going to be really cold and all that. But, yeah, it's kind of – I'm going to be fascinated to see kind of what all – goes in just trying to keep guys comfortable and who it bothers and who it doesn't.
Yeah, there's always the guys that go frozen pipes. You got to get out there without any sleeves or anything like that. That's usually the tough guys, not skill position guys, at least not wide receivers or DBs. It's your trench guys, it's your linebackers, it's your running backs. I don't know which way I would go if it was my choice. Like if I was the head coach, hey, are you really like, you're not emphasizing it like, guys, it's going to be freaking cold out there, but I'm also not ignoring it either. The only thing that will get you through a cold football game is working your tail off. You'll generate your own heat if you're out there giving the type of effort that you should be giving. And I don't know, Chris, I'm kind of thinking now though, like, could we get a running back covered in Vaseline from head to toe? I'm talking jersey, helmet. That just sounds like a good idea, maybe to make them a little more elusive. I do wonder if we see anything change offensively because of the elements. Do you think the game plan's actually affected?
Yes, I do. And here's where I think it is vastly different than what you have seen to this point. I think it comes down to decision making and field position is how I think it's vastly different, because this is going to be a close game. This is what Iowa State does. Their defense is really freaking good. Okay, they're one of the top 10 defenses statistically by pretty much every category in the country. They have kept their team in games despite a god-awful offense. Okay, their offense is bad. They can't run it. They basically have one target at wide out. Their quarterback throws it to the other team a lot. Yet their defense has managed to keep them in these one-score games a lot. So with that and with the elements, I bet you don't go for it on fourth down near as much, and I bet you're not near as aggressive. That's my take, because I think you have to play field position in a game like this. Don't help a really bad offense. And I think that while you may not be able to kick it as far, because that's the one thing that the analytics don't factor in at all. And Joey's talked about this. It doesn't factor in weather and the elements and all those things. But this is going to be a low-scoring, one-possession type game. I just think that, and I can't say for sure this is what they're going to do. This is what I would do. I would very much major in the field position aspect of it. And if we can play that a little bit instead of going for it on your own end of the field, and some of that down and distance and like location on the field will dictate it. I just don't know if you need to be as aggressive as we've seen in the past, because pinning a really bad offense down at their end of the field sounds like good. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. Giving it to them on your own 35 or 40 yard line when they're bad enough as it is doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me. And why help them? So that's the aspect that I would think changes quite a bit.
I think Iowa State fans would be fainting in the stands from the sheer mercy of God to have a team go for it in their own territory and possibly give that offense like a 40-yard boost or something if they don't get it, because it has been tough sledding to say the least. I want to get to coming up ahead on Locked On Texas Tech, what Iowa State does so well defensively and has done for a long time so well defensively, particularly against the Red Raiders. We'll get to that. But first, I also want to talk Tyler Shough in the week that he's had following his most accomplished day as a Red Raider. Coming up next on Locked On Texas Tech. But first, today's episode brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. As you're gearing up for 2023, you want to assemble just the right team for your business, and LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. You can create a free job post in just minutes on LinkedIn Jobs right now to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. That's why small businesses are rating LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs is going to help you find the candidates you want to talk to faster than anyone. Did you know that every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free today with LinkedIn Jobs. Terms and conditions apply. And also, today's episode brought to you by Nugenics. Remember when winning felt easy? That's because when you were younger, you were at the peak of your testosterone production, what some have called the winner's hormone or the man hormone. Wouldn't it be nice to get that winner's edge again and that old swagger back in your step? Well, you can with Nugenics Total T. Contains man-boosting ingredients like testosterone. It has been validated in 5 clinical studies shown to boost free testosterone levels in men, because Nugenix Total T boosts free testosterone that the aging process robs. You're going to feel stronger, leaner, with more energy and drive and more passion too. Your partner is going to notice the difference also. Wow. Nugenix Total T is the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. And now you can get a complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T when you text college, 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 to 231-231. Text college to 231-231 and get a complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. So text now and get a bottle of Nugenix Thermo as well. Their most powerful fat incinerator ever, with key ingredients to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text college to 231-231. That's college to 231-231. And also Flatlands Grain, ready to make your life easier this harvest season. Those big wheels keep on turning. Flatlands Grain keeps on working to make life easier for farming and ranching families all across the high plains of Texas. Visit them online right now at flatlandsgrain.com or give them a call to see what they can do for you at 806-839-2522. Market experience, crop analysis, just keeping animals fed. There's no job too big, too small for Flatlands Grain whenever it comes to having your back. Go see them in Hale Center, Texas, America, just 30 quick and convenient minutes north of the LBK. Or again, visit them online at flatlandsgrain.com. You're saddling up with Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Subscribe on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Talking Red Raider football as we prepare for the wintry north of Ames, Iowa. Saturday night as Tech and Iowa State will hook up. Red Raiders have 2 shots at becoming bowl eligible. Both of them are going to be cold affairs. One away and, of course, one back here in Lubbock to wrap up the regular season on a Saturday night against Oklahoma. We'll get back to what Iowa State is doing so well defensively again this year. And, man, they've made it tough on Texas Tech from an offensive standpoint for many years running now. I mean, it was a nightmare there for a while before you broke the seal. But we'll get to that coming up. But first, I want to get to Tyler Shough, Chris, because it's been a nightmare of a timeline at various points for him since he got to West Texas, injury after injury. You're getting into a point where you also have quarterbacks making plays behind him, kind of changes the conversation a little bit, even when he gets healthy. You and I talked about to kick off the week just how happy we were individually for him because of what he's been through. Most successful day as a Red Raider statistically, clearly, but you also get a big win against Kansas. I'm just wondering, do you feel like we've already talked about the offensive game plan or the game plan in general maybe being affected by the environment? But given the fact that Tyler Shough had the week that he did, not just as a passer, as a ball carrier as well, I would maybe venture to guess that any adjustment in the game plan doesn't necessarily mean that the ball is out of his hands more often. Maybe there's some different variety as far as connecting with pass catchers, or maybe more so some ball carrier usage. I don't know. But I sure would hate to take a hot hand off of the football. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I think the best thing that he did versus the Jayhawks, it's not the rushing yards, it's not the passes he threw, it's the fact that he didn't turn the ball over. You know, I mean, and we kind of looked at that and looked at all that he did, but it's what he didn't do. And I think that is what you've kind of been wanting. He's going to start these last 2 games unless he gets dinged up or whatever. And I just, when you talk to his teammates, they are starting to tell you, oh yeah, he's starting to get his confidence back. He's starting to feel good about things. And I just think the one aspect that he's so good at that we just don't really grasp or understand because we're not in the game is that he's keeping you in and out of the right place for the most part and kind of checking in and out of things like that, and understands at 23 years old what the defense is trying to do to him. And not that he can make the play every time, or not that he's perfect in that aspect. He's just so much better at that than I think Donovan and Barron are. It's not their fault. They're just 3 or 4 years younger in some cases. Sure. But I think, his decision making, because some of those runs are him either making a play or, hey, look, I'm going to keep it here. This is what they've given me. And I think that you don't necessarily – you look at a guy like Tyler and you're like, that shocks me that he runs for 80-something yards. Well, this is what he kind of did at Oregon too. This is who he is. He's sneaky athletic. And we've been caught up here since he got here about, you just please don't get hurt. I've seen it happen a couple. But I think you see the good here, because this is the first full football game he's played, Casey, since – September of 2021, I guess. Yeah, so we're talking about 14 months or so, because I don't count what he did at Baylor. I don't count what he did at Murray State early in the season. I don't count what it looked like at TCU. This was a full week of prep. You're the starter. You manage it. And again, Kansas doesn't have the best defense, but I thought it looked very smooth. He looked very confident. You never got the sense that the offense was just out of whack or out of rhythm. And I will tell you this, and so we go into this game on Saturday. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be a grind. Iowa State has a way of making you feel like you're everything you're trying is ugly, and that weather is only going to compound the problem. But that's the kind of guy you want in there that will be patient, not going to put his team in harm's way. And I think for the most part, and I think as long as, he manages the game and understands it's a long game, throw it away, whatever it takes, I like him and his decision-making in this kind of game.
That's a great point, man, because in this kind of game, it'd be so easy to get frustrated as a quarterback and want to force something or try to get it all back. And that maturity's got to be an advantage that you would think would bring to the table.
Yeah, and make no mistake, had Barron not gotten hurt, Barron would have been the starter all the way through. They had kind of decided that. Barron is the future of this program, no doubt. He's dinged up. He's going to only be available in an emergency situation only. But I just see Tyler is like, this is the version of Tyler Shough that you recruited here. We finally got to see it, and I'd like to see more of it because if you get bowl eligible at any point, he's going to be a huge reason why you got that done. Make no mistake about it. And if you can pull off one of these two, it's going to be because he played really, really well, in my opinion, or didn't screw it up. Didn't turn it over. And I think that is something that I think you have a healthy stable of running backs. I think that, you can use maybe some of your tight ends here. This isn't an all-world defense. Their scheme is just such a pain to play against. And they trick you. You're going to be looking at it. They're going to rush 3 guys all night, and you're going to go, why are they not running it? As soon as you try to run it, it's going to go from 3 dudes around that line of scrimmage, and there's like 7, and they tackle really, really well. And so it's like it's kind of this game that you play because they want you to run it. They're like saying, hey, we dare you. Like, look, we don't have anybody up here. And Tyler won't, I think, fall for a lot of that. You're going to have to run it at some level, but you have to be able to throw it too, get it to the perimeter and all that, because John Heacock is just he's a guy that runs a scheme that everybody goes to Ames, Iowa and tries to copy. That's the best compliment you can give a coordinator or a coach is when you've developed a scheme that like, I want me some of that. How do you do this? How are you – because they don't have all-world athletes or draft picks. But we've got a few, but so anyway, I like Tyler in this spot.
I just feel like you got to go Marv Levy on them here. When it's too cold for them, it's just right for us, and throw in when it's too ugly for them, it's just right for us. Tech is built for an ugly game. Your offense has been nothing prolific or spectacular. You haven't been the greatest show on turf. The best thing you do is run the football when you're willing to do it. Like, I think Tech should be geared towards this as an offense because there's been nothing sexy about your offense really all season long. I know that hadn't been by design, but in my opinion, what you do best is some of those things physically in the ground game, or I should say maybe most reliably, even if that's not all that reliable for the year at large.
And I wonder too, and maybe we see a little bit more of Donovan in the run game and things like that, just because he can do that with some of those short yardage. But I bet you continue to see some QB run and some different things and trying to get the ball in some of those easier screen plays. You may throw it to your running backs a bit more than we're used to seeing too, just to get the ball in their hands for something easy and try to, because that's what else Iowa State is elite at. They're really good tacklers because that's the way the scheme is built. Like it's all built on we have to make you be a good tackling team because they end up, everybody tries to do some of the same things. But you got these safeties or linebacker types that are on the perimeter, and they're just really good in one-on-one situations. So, but I want to get my Taj Brookses, my SaRodorick Thompsons, and now Cameron Valdez out there in space and see if they can't get you, 7 or 8 on occasion and move the chains. Well,
and those are. I don't want to put this on Valdez just yet because he's a little bit more unknown at this point in his career, but he kind of looks like it too. But definitely Brooks and Thompson, those are guys that can make the first guy miss, whether it's with a punch to the face or just actually making them miss, whatever it might look like. So might like your chances in those situations. We'll see coming up on Saturday night. Coming up next on Locked On Texas Tech, before we get out of here, let's talk about the shoes left to fill. You mentioned one guy, Miles Cole, that may be aiding in that effort, but Tyree Wilson not on the field Saturday night for Tech. So now what up front defensively for Tim DeRuyter? We'll get to that coming up next on Locked On Texas Tech. But first, today's episode brought to you by Bet Online, the go-to to get the jump on all the angles, the action, and the angles on the action this football season and beyond. College basketball now upon us, and Bet Online has got you covered every week with all the trends. You can find all the latest news on this week's slate, as well as analysis on the wide world of sports, well beyond football or basketball, combat sports, golf, esports. They got you covered at Bet Online, the HQ for live betting, stats, and scores. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite events. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about what the trends are shaping up to look like this time around with Bet Online, where the game starts. And also, today's episode brought to you by Armen Williams with Schooley Mitchell, North America's #1 cost reduction company, and that makes Armen Williams your cost reduction expert. He's saving businesses thousands of dollars, and he wants to help Red Raiders just like you save money, especially now with the cost of everything on the rise. As an example, are you unhappy, say, with your internet service? Maybe it's not reliable. Maybe you're overpaying. Do you even know? We know you don't have time to call and argue with the provider about any of that. So let Armen Williams do it. Schooley Mitchell just helped a client increase their internet speed and pay a lower monthly rate. So now they've got better service for a lower cost. At a time when you need savings more than ever, Armen is ready to be your vendor watchdog. At a time like this, Armen's delivering expertise to companies of all sizes from all industries, offering a broad range of services, and there's no upfront costs. Armen and Schooley Mitchell only sharing any savings generated. If they can't find savings, you don't owe them anything, but chances are they are going to find savings. So on average, they've reduced expenses by 28%. No upfront costs. All starts with a free analysis to learn how Schooley Mitchell can reduce your costs with absolutely zero risk. Go to savewitharmen.com today. That's savewitharmen, ARMEN.com. And let Armen Williams go to work for you and maybe provide a little extra wiggle room for your business in 2023 at savewitharmen.com. Thanks for making Locked On Texas Tech a part of your day, whenever, wherever, however. We appreciate it. Subscribe on YouTube if you haven't so far, so you never miss an episode with Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan, wrapping it up as we look ahead to Texas Tech and Iowa State, and we'll have some more time to do that before we wrap up the week. We'll have some sound from Iowa State head coach Matt Campbell, as well as Tech head coach Joey McGuire coming up tomorrow on Locked On Texas Tech. But Chris, you mentioned a little bit earlier that Miles Cole, Tech defensive lineman, could be getting some more run. I'm assuming, I think correctly, that is a result of Tyree Wilson not being available on Saturday night. I know it's not only Miles Cole that's going to have to, aid and picking up that slack. So how do things change up front personnel-wise? rotation-wise for Coach DeRuiter without Tyree Wilson there.
Yeah, and it's funny, Casey, we mentioned Miles Cole. He's actually played in Ames, Iowa before. His previous school played a game up in Ames, so he spent some time up there. He knows exactly what he's getting into. He has been somebody that I think they kind of moved inside, and part of that rotation, I think they're going to move him back outside now. He will certainly – you'll see more of him, and this is why he's here. He's going to be back next year. And that's really when you were going to lean on him. But guess what? You're going to fast forward it a bit because he's going to be needed. And look, you're not replacing Tyree Wilson, man. The guy's a monster. He's your best player. Your defense looks so much different without his just quick twitch and playmaking ability. Joey has said, hey, he's going to travel to Ames with us and be there to help in any way that he can. And so that is certainly a good thing. But Miles Cole is going to play more. Guys like Josiah Pierre have been pretty good. They'll continue to get more and more snaps. But it's guys like Miles Cole, Robert Wooten, your Virginia Tech transfer that was on campus here last year. That's fast-forwarded for him too. Isaac Smith, who's a redshirt freshman, a guy out of Oklahoma that looks really good at about 6'5", 240. Again, you kind of think, okay, really when he's a sophomore, junior, senior. Well, just so happens at the end of his redshirt freshman year, right now, you're going to get some more opportunities to try to help us. And so it's who replaces Tyree Wilson? Well, there's two answers. One, no one replaces him, and then two, everyone. There's not one guy. There's not one guy you're looking at. It's just like everybody's got to collectively kind of soak up those reps and snaps.
Yeah, like three guys stacked inside of a trench coat.
Exactly. Yeah, So, but yeah, there's bodies there. There's just not anybody special on your team. And let's be honest. Your guys in the secondary have to be a bit better. Guys like Tony and Jalen have to be a bit better. I mean, everybody just kind of elevate a bit. You don't have to do more than what anybody's asking of you, but those plays were being made by Tyree Wilson, and they kind of collectively have to be made by everybody else. The other thing about Iowa State, too, that I like this matchup, Xavier Hutchinson is their guy. They feed it to this receiver. He's the comfort level with their QB and Hunter Deckers. They move him around everywhere. I just like that you have long corners that will embrace that matchup, and I think you can somewhat negate it a bit because that's when Hunter Deckers gets in trouble, that's where he's going with the football. I mean, sure as I sit here and tell you this, he's the guy. That's where the ball's going. He's going to have 8 to 12 targets on Saturday night. That's where they're going with it in a variety of different ways, in the slot, on the outside, maybe hand it to him, whatever. But when all else fails and Hunter Deckers gets in trouble, that's where he's going with the ball. I like, Rayshad Williams, and I like Malik Dunlap in those spots too. So those guys will have to elevate because if they can negate that particular matchup, boy, you like your chances.
I thought I heard you mention earlier in today's show as well, maybe a propensity to give the ball away a little bit too. From Iowa State.
Well, he will throw it to you. Yes. I mean, this is what with a younger quarterback, he has had an interception problem. And so I think if you're now look, that ball is going to feel like a rock. And it's not going to be easy to catch, and somebody's going to cough it up when you're not expecting it because it's going to be hard to hold on to. You're going to get hit. And you're going to be like, oh, I'm cold. I'm going to let go of this thing, whatever. But he will absolutely throw it to you. And he is somebody that has had an interception problem most of the year. And that's just part of a young quarterback and the turnovers and all those things. So, yeah, to your point, I think if you can, jump routes and maybe kind of anticipate where he wants to go with it and make him a bit uncomfortable, then look out. You could certainly end up with some turnovers.
Josiah Pierre, did he have his best game of the season Saturday? I feel like he's just been a constant kind of trend up.
I think in the last 2 weeks is the best he's played as a Texas Tech, Red Raider for sure. I think against TCU, I also think against Kansas when you mesh those together, he's playing his best ball right now. And coaches will often say, man, give me your best when your best is needed. Well, young man, it's needed. I mean, it is needed right now. And so you're starting to call his name for the right reasons a lot more. And he's starting to get pressure and making tackles. And this is why I love the portal so much when guys like this work out, because you can really lean on these old guys. They don't have much left. They're very motivated. This is a guy that didn't exactly work out at Florida, and I'm glad he's on your team right now.
Yeah, me too. It's been fun to watch his ascension this year, and you need it more than ever heading into Saturday night. All right, appreciate you for joining us once again on Locked On Texas Tech. We'll continue getting ready for Red Raiders and Cyclones on Saturday, and also continuing to turn an eye towards Monday afternoon as Tech Hoops is in action from Maui, Hawaii, as they take on top 10 Creighton. Had a basketball conversation on yesterday's show, so if you missed that, check that out as we recap some of Monday night's affair and looked ahead to what was going to go down in Maui beginning on Monday. Stay subscribed. Get subscribed on YouTube so you never miss an episode, no matter when they are hitting
Right.
the scene. Chris, enjoyed it as always, my man. Appreciate the time.
And you and I will get to feeling better at some point, I hope. Yeah, in the meantime, keep hope alive. We got football, we got basketball, we got all the things, man. And we're about to have day sports next week. It's gonna be good, man. Fun time of year.
Thanksgiving week, knocking down mule deer, knocking down top 10 teams at 1:30 in the afternoon. I mean, the holidays are truly upon us, Chris. Keep heated hope alive.
Oh,
I would like to throw back at you. Nothing better to get a man feeling better after a bit of a fluish or cold-like week than a 6-degree night in Ames, Iowa. I think that's exactly what the doctor would order for you, Chris. So continue. Send Th's and P's your way. These?
Yes.
Is that a thigh? I'm not sure what that was. Prayers is the P, though. I know that. I'll double check after the show. All right. We'll see you tomorrow for another round on Locked On Texas Tech. Thanks for making us your first listen. Make Locked On Sports Today your second listen. It's the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day on Locked On Sports Today. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. For Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Have a great one. We'll see you next time around on Locked On Texas Tech.